Hey, what's going on, fellas? So this is King with K.M.R Tactics. So what we have here is something special. We have two identical Glock 19 MOS by Umarex. These are both in 177 caliber. In a Gen 5, of course. So what are we looking at right here? So when you actually, these are full blowback pistols. I love them. I absolutely love them. So very easy to take apart, put together. They're actually fully filled strippable, which is something that I love. Just so you can get the actual mechanics and the workings of the actual gun down pat, get an actual feel for the actual gun. Alright, so now what are we talking about today? Recoil. So as I said, these are actually they have full blowback, so your slide actually travels the full length back, as in with its firearm counterpart. So when this slide travels back, it actually tries to mitigate the forward action of something being fired out the front of the gun. And so it gives you this slide back, gives you a little hop with your hand. Now, that hop with your hand affects your accuracy downrange when you're actually trying to acquire your target fast, and put multiple shots on. We're not doing. Let's be real. This isn't a precision instrument right here. This is just basically for backyard planking. But note to that, I think that this could be a precision instrument if the materials were better. Like I'd say like a steel slide instead of this aluminum slide. The tolerances on certain aspects of this, like your breech and things like that, that could be better. You hear that little bit of noise, a little bit of rattling, and that actually is this piece right here. You hear it actually just, let me try to get it in focus. That actually is a little flat wheel. Hold on, let me see if I can bring it up. Governor. Alright. So this little piece right here actually moves. And on some guns, that's an actual wheel. So they call it the hammer wheel, but I guess this is the hammer lever. I don't know. So anyway, before we trail off into that, but just a little bit better quality materials, and this could actually be something that you could use for precision. But back to what I was talking about. So your recoil. So currently, right now, the recoil spring that comes along with this is something like this, and this is a dual stage recoil spring. You actually have one spring right here that actually goes through the entire length of the guide rod. And then you have this other outer spring right here that actually is just from here to here. And so what that does is, and they also have a single stage recoil spring, which is just basically this type of spring going all the way down without this spring and this little piece of casing on it. So anyway, and minus this little washer that I've put on here, just trying to mitigate the recoil spring load. So anyway, but this is what you get, and this dual recoil spring actually gives you mid and high range dampening of your slide, just the force felt. And so with this is what comes stock, again minus this metal piece at the top. It actually gives you a pretty good kick. Now, I love this gun. This gun actually, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. A lot of things are kind of like misconstrued, like they say you can't reset your trigger without letting off of this. Well, I have no problem. Yeah, so, and the trigger is nice and crisp, allowing you to actually do pretty good, pretty fast shooting with this. Now, again, like I said, so when it comes back like this, it shoots up. So what I actually did was, I know I'm a bit lengthy in talking. So what I actually did was, I know they have triple stage recoil springs or triple stage spring recoil rods, and so, but they don't have them available for air guns, and I wouldn't advise you to use a pistol stuck things in your air gun, just because the materials, like I said, this is aluminum. You may get something bent or something like that on the slide, or actually on your guide rods. I mean, not your guide rods, your metal you actually slide guides right there. So what I got here is a triple spring setup. So boom, so you have your outer spring, you have your inner spring, but you also have the spring that's coming from here to here. Your inner spring, your outer spring, and this spring right here. So what that actually does is allow your slide to actually take more force for your slide to jolt back, but that force would actually be offset by the increased stopping power or buffering power of your triple stage spring on your recoil rod. Now I will be looking into like getting something more polished out on the triple stage recoil spring, and also these are polymer. What this is actually made out of. So I'm looking into maybe a aluminum or maybe a steel housing. But yeah, offering a triple stage recoil spring. Now, that brings me to the next thing. So here is where I'm at now. Let me back this out a little bit. I want to be able to shoot these. Out of this. And so right here, what we have here is the actual mag. This is how it comes, minus the CO2 tank and the rubber band. I put the rubber band in there because it mitigates a lot of sounds and it stops it from bumping around, whereas it would normally sound like that, and that is a no-no. So, but okay, so here is a normal magazine. How it comes stock. Okay. All right. So, this is what I am into. Now, so automatically you can see two differences here. Let me bring this first up. So this is what we're looking like. I have to change out the follower, but I'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so let's see how we gonna have this looking. So I can do shit like this. That's because this first one not even pushed all the way in. There we go. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, so that's enough. I can feel the whole mag. And I do understand and realize that, yes, the Glock 19 MOS Gen 5.177 caliber comes with a smooth bore barrel. So not only would I have to modify the magazine and understand, I went with these types of rounds, plastic belted rounds. Yeah, I could have looked into actual slugs, but because of the short barrel length and the small amount of air that could fit into the actual chamber here, I didn't want to go with a slug, and definitely didn't want to go with a pellet, because just the act of feeding into the chamber would actually deform the pellet, and these would be less or more resistant to that. But okay, so this is the thing. So this is what the inside of the barrel looks like. Let me bring it down this way for you. Okay, so inside of this barrel you have this piece right here, which is actually rubber. And this rubber piece actually allows it to come up in here, hit that rubber piece, and make it pop up just high enough so that it'll, when it's ready to, it'll slam it right down in there. Okay, so let's show you what's going on. Okay, so see how the magazine lines up with that there. Okay, so boom, that's what we looking at. Shit like that. Okay. So this piece right here, more precisely, this piece right there, is what actually rides down this little corridor into this channel, pushes this into battery when you pull the trigger. And the actual, what's the name? You pull the trigger, and this is how it looks on the inside of the gun. This comes back, this slides back over top of all of that. Because of the blowback action, that's coming from this opening in your magazine that hits into this opening, which causes this to expand, and when that expands, that blows everything back. But this, what keeps this in motion will keep this in place for a delayed response, so that it can clear the projectile, can clear the chamber or the barrel. Then it pulls it back. This comes back, and then this piece, and then this piece right here actually slides forward and pushes the next thing into battery. All right. So now we know how that works, right? So the thing is that these are not, that's not a nice little, that's an abrupt little angle right there on the lip, like right here. This part of the lip, that's kind of abrupt, and that's how it is on all of them, right? So the thing is, what's happening is, instead of it sliding out and going in the battery like this, it'll slide out, hit that little plastic or that rubber little piece, the bushing, and it'll be sideways like this and get caught sideways, which causes it not to feed correctly. So that is another reason why I use the triple spring, so that maybe it would bring it back, bring the slide back to its normal position. But well, hold on. So as you can see, it's nothing. Move this out the way. It's nothing in there. Okay. And so okay. Let's see if it'll lock it in there. I don't think that it actually locked it all the way in there. Nope, it did not. Let me see if I could coax it in there. Now, let's see if you can see it in there now. It just gnawed up the whole butt of that tray. Let me push that out for you. Now look at the back of this jump. Got gnarled all up. So let's try that again. Let me try to get it better. A better way for you to see it. Come on. Focus. So let's try to double feed down. Okay. Now I do think that I'm going to have to actually like I said, get a rifle barrel. I believe like Umarex has a dual action Glock 17 that I would have to probably get my hands on that barrel and do some modifications to that, just so I can keep it in the Umarex family kind of stock type of situation. But yeah, I do think that I'm going to have to actually do something about the hop up. That little rubber bushing. But anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I may have to get a part specialty made, 3D printed something, so that it could actually accept the rounds reliably. Of course, I'm gonna have to change the angle, the slope of the feed slope or whatever. But yeah. After I do that, so we're talking about changing out. We're talking about changing out the actual magazine, or modifications to the magazine, modifications to the guide rod. We're talking about modifications to the actual barrel, and possible modifications to the actual slide. I made, like I said, I want an actual so I want an actual a steel slide. Also, I went on ahead and took the paint off of the little ejector, just for realism. But yeah, man, you know, Glock 19 MOS without the back plates on it, with the back plates on it. I love this gun. But hopefully with the two, and probably also what I'd probably do with this is actually look into machining some cuts in the slide. Yeah, I want it to be a better material, but I still want it to be lightweight so that I can actually play a little bit more with the recoil springs, different weights, tolerances that it can take. I want this to be as accurate and as badass as it can be, and that's what I plan on doing. So just stay tuned. Yeah. Y'all be blessed.